All right, what's going on, Sooner Nation? We're back here to talk some OU softball because opening day is about to be here for Oklahoma. They're kicking it off in Mexico. I'm excited. You guys are excited. Today, I'm joined by a special guest, Drew England. We're going to break down the games that are coming up this week. We're going to talk about the season for Oklahoma, some updates that Patty Gasso talked about. But first, we're recording this on a Tuesday night. And, of course, we all woke up Tuesday morning to the news that Toby Keith had passed away. Oklahoma, legend in terms of just country music, a huge supporter of Oklahoma athletics in general. I think you really saw Toby Keith on the forefront for sports at Oklahoma that maybe just weren't getting the attention, right? He really tried to help drive that excitement and get people there in the stands. So just before we get started, Drew, what's your thoughts about the passing of Toby Keith?
Man, it is devastating. I know for a lot of us that woke up this morning and was just looking at the news and kind of seeing that and everything. I know his health is was kind of improving a little bit, but then at the same time, I don't know if the whole um, the whole health and probably a lot of that stuff is usually kept to the family and stuff like that really, but I think he lived his life to the fullest. I didn't think he let it slow him down a whole lot. I think he was just like, you know what, hey, if I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna go out swinging. And he did, man. He was full of life. He was very passionate, not only about Oklahoma Sooner sports and the University of Oklahoma, but about helping people and about giving back. And I think you see it all over, especially here in the metro area in Oklahoma City. Is the Children's Hospital and all kinds of different stuff that he did and fundraising and trying to give back and obviously big patriot. He'd go do concerts for the troops overseas and just yeah, huge OU guy, but I think more just an amazing humanitarian and a guy that was willing to use his resources to try to help other people. And yeah, his music, everything like that. I mean, but he's going to be missed. And I think just his generosity and just the kind of person he was beyond the music, beyond the sports fan and everything is I think very underestimated. And what he really did and how he impacted so many lives around not only Oklahoma but the whole entire world.
Yeah, it's a sad deal. Sad deal to lose a guy like that. And we were actually watching the basketball game as we're recording this, and they showed his seat.
I kind of have a little red on my cup. I couldn't find a solo cup, but Toby, man, what a legend.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who takes that celebrity role for Oklahoma and really is on the forefront, whether it's a Trey Young or I was kind of wondering, I'm like, is a Carrie Underwood or anybody like that an Oklahoma fan? Would they be the ones to kind of step up? But
that's tough shoes to fill, man. And I don't know if anybody could fill those shoes and just being that kind of person. But yeah, he's going to be missed. So it'll be interesting. It'll be cool to see some of the tributes and things. And I would push for getting that guy a statue somewhere around Norman, for sure.
Shoot, name a building after him, because the thing
absolutely.
is, he did so much and he impacted Oklahoma athletics more than I think people realize.
Well, not only that, the whole school, the university, man, like it was amazing. So yeah, he's going to be missed for sure.
Yep, he will be missed. And you saw it last year, Oklahoma softball. They won their national championship, ended on a 53-game win streak. Of course, celebrating with Toby Keith. And I think that's where we'll kick it off, right? So they end their season celebrating there, and they're going into Mexico with a 53-game win streak. The target is, if they didn't believe a target was on their back before, they didn't believe it was that heavy, it's going to be a heavy, hard target. Now they play at Utah or they play at Mexico. They play Utah Valley, Duke, Washington, and Long Beach State in their Porta Vala College Challenge.
Porta Vallarta.
I knew I was going to get it wrong after we said it in the room. but the girls are out there traveling. They get to play in some warm weather. That's always nice.
Yeah, must be rough,
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be
starting your
rough.
season off in Mexico. That's got to be tough.
Yeah, I'm sure they get to. I'm sure they'll get to hit the beaches after, maybe in some celebratory wins, hopefully. But it's going to be on Flow Sports, so everybody will get an opportunity to watch the girls start their season. Drew, just before we dive into those games a little bit, what are just some expectations that you have for this season and for this team as a whole? You lose Jordy Ball, so you're replacing her. You lose a couple other pieces, but it looks like Oklahoma's returning some really key pieces. Kenzie Hansen, Tiara Jennings, Jada Coleman. So you feel like
Alyssa
Oklahoma
Brito.
softball can continue this run.
Yeah. No, and I mean, no doubt. I mean, when you're talking, and we talk other sports, obviously we talk football a lot and everything else, but when you're thinking about those dynasties, you're thinking New England Patriots, back in the day, Tom Brady, thinking Nick Saban, those type of things. This is the era that softball is in right now with the Oklahoma dynasty, and I think it's not rebuilding, it's reloading, and Patty Gasso and JT and that crew just continue to do it year after year. The recruiting classes, I think the number one recruiting class again for this year and next year and maybe the year after that, or it's one of those things where, like you said, all the key pieces are returning. Tiara Jennings, Alyssa Brito, Jada Coleman, and then you lose Jordy Ball, but you replace her with a girl like Kelly Maxwell. Not a bad addition when you're talking about veteran leadership in the circle. I think for her that's huge, and then you've got the other pitching that's going to come along. But for me, it's hey, how big can we get this winning streak, and can we get to rarefied air with 4 in a row? Until I think it's one of those things, and you hear me say it a lot. Until you prove me otherwise, I'm gonna continue to think this team is going to win another national championship, and just the mindset they have and the leadership that they have with Patty Gasso and Jen Rocha and all these other. Yeah, and they don't play a cupcake schedule to start out either. I mean, it's one of those things where when she schedules games, she schedules them for a reason. I think you saw it last year, you saw it the year before, but I mean, yeah, you got your first game against Utah Valley, but then you also got Duke, who's ranked, Washington, who's ranked. And so it's going to be, hey, we're going to jump right into season and see what we're made of early. And so it's just one of those things, get off to a good start, kind of get your feet wet and then start gelling with each other, because it's then you've got, the Cowgirl Classic. And then after that, the Mary Nutter, which is always a really good tournament coming up. And then you've got OU is actually hosting one March the 1st, and we haven't even talked about the new Loves Field that they're also opening. Man, I've seen pictures of that thing, and it's gorgeous. And so I'm excited to get out there. I got a friend of mine who's got season tickets, and so get a chance to get out there with them. But hey, man, until you knock the champs off the mountain, I still think we got a shot at 4 in a row.
Yeah. Now, this was a conversation that we had with Andrew on the last episode, the inaugural episode, talking about softball, which is if Oklahoma wins 4 in a row, right? You feel like if they win 4, pretty much almost like there's this thought that this team is going to become unstoppable. Like there's going to become a point in time where they have to be stopped, or they're just going to continue spurting off these national championships and winning these games. Because, I mean, it feels like this year or next year would be the year to beat them, because, I mean, all of that they're going to be losing next season. I don't know. Take on that. I mean, 4 or 5 in a row.
This is it right here. I mean, when you're talking about your big 3 or your big 4 leaders, as far as Kenzie Hansen, Tiara Jennings, Jada Coleman, Alyssa Brito, and that crew has came in and won a national championship every single year they've been there, and that's hard to do. I don't think too many people can say that they could end their college career with 4 in a row. Would be quite impressive. But I think they have the tools. Like I said, with Kelly Maxwell, and and the pitching is strong. it's one of those things where if you look out there, yeah, there's other contenders, but you know, right now it's you know Oklahoma and everybody else.
100%, 100%. If there was a team that you had to look at, whether they're on Oklahoma's schedule or, I mean, shoot, if you think Oklahoma can make it all the way this year to the World Series without losing a game, who do you think is the team that could knock off Oklahoma?
Man, it's one of those things where when you're looking at the rankings and all that stuff. Obviously, it came out a couple days ago in different polls. It's just like football and stuff like that. But when you're talking about some of those teams, it's Tennessee has a chance. Certainly, Stanford, Florida State, who we played in the national championship. Um, Last year, Clemson. I'm telling you what, man, that series last year in Norman. I mean, we were on the ropes. We were getting ready to lose a game, and Kenzie Hansen with the Sooner Magic and everything like that. I'll tell you what, and this is the thing that impresses me most about Clemson. They've only been a program for about a handful of years. I think maybe a little more than that, but they haven't even had a decade long run in college softball, which is hard to believe. And they have been to the tournament, I think, every single year they've had softball, and they're a young, fun, scrappy team. Am I saying they're gonna knock it off? But there's a lot of good softball, and I love that because when we were talking about Toby Keith and some of these advocates for women's sports and specifically softball, the game has never been, I think, more exciting than it has been, and the traction that it's picked up with ESPN and just the fanfare that it brings to Oklahoma City. There's a lot of teams in the top 25 that are young, that are exciting, that have some veteran leadership. I look at Arkansas, who's trying to get over the hump, and a couple other schools. One team that's on our schedule who we're going to see here in the next couple of days, Sid Romero, who's the hitting coach at Duke, former Sooner. They're down there, and they're a good ball club as well. And so, for me, it's that top 10, but I really like Florida State, and I like Clemson and the way that they've built their program. Obviously, we can talk about Texas and what they've done. But for me right now, I think it's that number one by OU, and then everybody else below them. Certainly, you got to come to work every single game. But that's just kind of the teams that I feel like have a decent shot at not only getting to Oklahoma City, but maybe having a chance to win. Now, am I saying they're going to? Heck no, man. I'm still rolling with OU. But yeah, some really good teams, and I think there's gaining more parity in college softball as it gains more popularity.
Yeah, definitely. I think the teams got to watch out for Tennessee, Florida State, right? Those are the teams that have they fought with Oklahoma before. They're right there every year. The two that I think are probably the most interesting that I think a lot of people are going to watch is Stanford and then Nebraska, mainly because of their pitching.
Sure.
Nebraska now has elite pitching in Jordy Ball. You've got the girl out at Stanford, can't think of her name, but the question is can both of those teams get hot with the bats to be able to compete with Oklahoma?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Yep, you got to score runs. And which of these teams are going to be able to do that at a high clip? Because you're going to have to outscore Oklahoma more often than not, and have Oklahoma make multiple mistakes in order to do that. And so for me, Oklahoma may make a mistake one or two times, but they're not going to consistently beat themselves, and that's what they've done really, really well. Yes, they've had a lot of great players the last 3 years, but they have not beat themselves. They play fundamental softball, and they score a lot of runs. They pitch, but I think their defense is very, very underrated when it comes to that. So that's the biggest reason. I think they're just a fundamentally well-rounded team, with talent top to bottom.
Yeah. Now, Patty Gasso talked about some of the talent that's on this team, the depth chart, and kind of answered some questions about some things that we've been wondering about all season, specifically the shortstop position. Announced
Mhm.
that Tiara Jennings is going to be stepping up in that role, filling the shoes of
Grace Lyon.
Grace Lyons, or well, no,
Yep.
Grace Turk now actually. Grace Turk.
Yeah. Grace
Um,
Turk Lyon, whatever, hyphenated if you want, whatever it is. But yeah, that's big shoes to fill.
yeah. So I mean, I don't feel like. I mean, have we seen Tiara Jennings play shortstop? Like, how do we feel she's going to do in this role? Do you feel like?
Uh, yeah, I think she's going to be great. I mean, is she going to be Grace Lyons, who's a three-time national champion and made, I think, like, and this is just going off the cuff, I don't know, made like 2 errors her whole entire college career? No, probably not. But is Tiara Jennings a good, really good second baseman who can flip over to the other side of the bag and play a good shortstop for us? Absolutely. She's a better bat than Grace Lyons was, no doubt. Um, just the energy she brings and the leadership, I think, it's I think it's her turn to kind of step up into and to be that you know shortstop, because the shortstop is, when you typically think of shortstops, you think of captains, you think of leaders. But I think with those 4 that we've already mentioned, plus then the addition of Kelly Maxwell, who's, yes, first year at Oklahoma, she was at Oklahoma State, but she's seen and been in some big games as well, and so that's going to definitely help out. But there's a lot of leadership on this team, and then there's also some young talent to balance that out as well. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see her play shortstop, because I mean, we really haven't, because we don't go to practice, unfortunately. But if Patty believes in her and they're wanting to make that switch and put her at shortstop, who are we to question the arguably the greatest college softball coach of all time? So.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned moving over from second base. If you had to take a guess, who do you think takes that role at second base and steps up there?
Honestly, I know there was a few names mentioned, but I think it's gotta be maybe, they're gonna try a few people in the lineup and some other things, to see that. But for me, I really can't, say with certainty, yes, this person's gonna start, this person's gonna continue to, solidify that spot, because I think you have so much talent, um, when you're talking about, um a team like Oklahoma. So your guess is as good as mine at this point. I know I've heard like Alina Torres and a couple other names and stuff like that. And so yeah, it'll be interesting to see who steps up. I know Alyssa Brito's probably got third base locked down, as she should, and then the outfield is not going to be a problem, because you still got Jada Coleman and um, Riley Boone still out there. You might play just 2 outfielders. That's who all they need. They don't need a third with those 2 out there roaming around catching fly balls. So and then Kinsey Hansen behind the dish, and then you've got Nicole May, uh, Kirsten Deal, and then obviously Kelly Maxwell. Start as starting pitchers, and then other than that, you've got whoever else. Sid Sanders, obviously at first base, I think is who's probably going to play there. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like last year, we were talking about who's going to replace Jocelyn Allo. We figured that out pretty well. So it's like it's all right. It's like next, all right. Jennings is going to slide over to short, and now it's going to be like who's the second baseman, or who's going to be the person we haven't heard about that it's going to step up and do their thing. And so it's an opportunity for somebody to be known now and have their name etched in Sooner history. So it's fun. It's fun to see year after year who the new stars are on the diamond.
Well, and Oklahoma's got a couple of them coming in, right?
Yeah.
They got
Yep.
the number 4 prospect in the class of 2022 in Pickering, Cassidy Pickering.
Mm-hmm.
You got Ella Parker
Yep.
coming in, who was the number
Yep.
3 ranked recruit. You got Maya Blend coming in, who was the
Yep.
number 11th player. You have is it Nelly
Nelly.
McEnroe?
Yep.
And a lot of these girls, everybody is really high.
Another Hawaiian talent.
Mhm.
So the last one we did okay with. So
Just
you
okay.
know, yeah, just all right. Arguably, the best college softball player to ever do it. But it's one of those things where Um, it's gonna be fun to watch.
100%. So Oklahoma kicks off opening day or whatever you want to call it. And the back to back, you're playing Utah Valley first, and then you've got to go play Duke. And I think a lot of us are probably looking at Utah Valley and then ending with Long Beach State. Those are probably 2 wins. I don't think Oklahoma is losing to either one of those teams. But I do look at the middle part of these 4 games
Okay.
with Duke and Washington and say, these are teams that Oklahoma could possibly slip up to. You mentioned it,
Yeah.
Duke. They have a really good hitting coach. And then Washington, they played Oklahoma close last year. So going into this weekend, opening weekend, what is your expectations with Oklahoma against these teams? And, is there something specific that you're either watching for or that you want to see?
Obviously, you called it earlier how Tiare Jennings is going to settle in at shortstop. I think she's going to do fine. Obviously, because you're going to have a new tandem there at short and second, up the middle. It's always, hey, can we turn double plays? Can we, have that chemistry up the middle, where we can, understand who's covering, who's not, who's, you know, taking all that, and so that's going to get something to used to. Uh, the pitching. How's Kelly Maxwell, going to uh, make herself known, and how she's going to settle in. Nicole May, obviously, and then who's going to be kind of that third starter? Will it be Kirsten Deal? Will it be other people? Or are they going to try to uh, throw more arms this weekend to kind of get people some time, or are they just get they've got their 3 or 4 and they're going to roll with it? Who's going to come in relief, and top to bottom in the lineup? How are we hitting? All those things are, are we making early season errors? Are we hitting the ball hard? Are we hitting some hard line drives? Obviously, we're going to hit home runs, I think, but I think are we, you know, um, top to bottom, 1 through 9. How are we doing, and stuff like that? Because I mean, we're going to see really quickly, like you said. I don't expect us to lose to Utah Valley, but Duke and Washington will be really, really good tests right off the bat to see, what we're made of early. So, and I don't think Patty would want it any other way, because she's like, all right, girls, it's time to roll. Mindset. Here we go.
Now, Patty Gasso has an opportunity this weekend to really cement her legacy amongst softball coaches, which is crazy to think, right? She's won all these national championships, and we're saying she has a chance to inch even closer to just being the ultimate head coach amongst softball history. She is 1 win away from catching Marjorie Wright for 1,457 wins for third all time in NCAA career victories. That's crazy. That's
Wow.
crazy. And then right in front of her, she'll have Carol Hutchins, who is the all-time leader with 1,707, and Mike
Candrea.
Candrea with 1,674. So she's still got a little while to go before she catches second and first place, but she does have a chance to enter first place, and I think we all expect that she will. And I think we expect Oklahoma to come out 4-0. The one thing that I'm really interested to watch, though, is how Nicole May comes and settles in. So I think not only have I had this concern, but I think other people had this concern last year in the offseason, which was, hey, like, is Nicole going to give up big hits this year, or is she going to settle in and, be that number 1 pitcher for Oklahoma, being one of the most experienced pitchers in this room with this team? So that's something that I'm looking forward to. And then obviously, like you said, shortstop and Tiare Jennings, who is just, when you look at what she's been able to do career-wise with Oklahoma, she has been one of the absolute best. So yeah, it's going to be, I think, a pretty easy weekend for Oklahoma. I feel like the girls will probably get to celebrate in Mexico on the beach before they come back to the States. I think they come back to the States and they play, looks like in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Yeah, Lake.
Yep.
Other than that, do you just have any other final thoughts on this weekend, or this season overall for OU softball?
Yeah, I think year after year we sit and talk about, what is this new team going to look like? How are the pieces going to fit to this new team as in years past? And for me, it's like, it's just wait and see how they all gel, and I'm sure they'll be fine. And I fully expect them to make it back to Oklahoma City and defend their championship and try to go for number 4. So it'll be an exciting year as always, and something to hold us over until the fall, until football season. And it's a great way to do it because I think everybody is rallied around this team the last handful of years and is so excited about seeing championships come back to Norman in whatever sport there are. So.
Yeah, and we're going to host the largest softball stadium in the country with 4,200 seats, Love's Field. I've seen the pictures too. It looks
March
legit.
1st, and it's going to be it's everybody's like, is it going to be done in time? I think so. I mean, it's gone up so quick, and my deal is it going to be turf or is it going to be grass? Because they got to get that sod in, whatever it is, pretty quick. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I saw a picture the other day, and it looked like they had the ground all prepped to be able to start putting in sod. I think it'll probably, I would say, go in after this weekend because I think we're supposed to have another freeze this weekend, and then I think that'll probably be the last one of the year. So I think they'd probably put it in after this weekend.
Let's hope so.
And if not, maybe you put in turf for the year, the next year, grass.
Yeah, seed it. So that may be the only problem that the OU softball team has is can we get the grass in there quick enough to to make sure we're at home in our new stadium. So
now 4,200 seats. Do you think it sells out every single game?
Yeah.
At least for the first.
It's already sold out. Yeah, it's already sold out. So.
All right. Yeah. Well, Drew, where can everybody find you at? Where can everybody find any specific content that you might be putting out in the future?
Well, right now I am coaching football. I am working. I'm at Mount St. Mary. I'm the new offensive coordinator there. So spending a lot of time there. But we are in the planning stages again of relaunching our Anything OU podcast. If you guys go follow that on Twitter, Anything OU on Twitter, myself on Twitter, and stay tuned for some content hopefully coming out here soon. It's been a busy spring, but myself and Christian are trying to figure out when we're going to throw a new episode out and all that. But we're still chugging along and hopefully throwing out some new content soon.
All right. We'll definitely be looking forward to it. Guys, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like, hit the subscribe button. If you're listening to this on any of the podcast platforms, rate it 5 stars, leave it a review. It lets me know that you guys like this kind of content so I can bring you more of it in the future. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, they recommend you guys to watch one of these videos. So go ahead and click on one of those.